The reason that we take the interpretive approach that we do is largely driven, I will admit, by myself, but also adding people to the staff who are relentlessly driven by the truth. It is not about how we feel. It is not about who our ancestor is or what political party we're affiliated with.
The public dialogue today with social media very quickly becomes so contentious that it's hard for us to hear one another. And I think these sites, stepping inside somebody else's story for a while, allows us not to put up our hackles and not to immediately seize a position, but just to listen. To deal with issues that are still important today, but deal with them in a place that's safe.
Long before I was, CEO or historian or whatever you want to call me, as a writer. And I heard all this nonsense about people like John Bell Hood and even the Battle of Franklin. And I was just relentlessly driven to peer through the murk of myth and distortions, if not sometimes just outright lies or ignorance.
One of the questions that we get a lot on our Facebook pages, but occasionally in a tour or an accusation maybe that's hurled at us or other historic sites, is that we are erasing Southern history. I take exception to that because I am a Southerner. Being Southern and being Confederate are not the same thing. Not everybody who lived in the South believed in the Confederacy to begin with. My great-great-granddaddy who lived in Tennessee and fought in this war didn't fight for the Confederacy. He fought for the United States.
I grew up in Southern California and I've been living here for about 12 or so years. I don't think of it as a Southern story. It is an American story. And just because I didn't grow up here doesn't mean I can't tell the story of what happened here. We tell a story that matters. And we tell an intimate story that has lasting consequences. An ever-evolving story. We're learning more, it's changing, it's not stagnant. You can connect it to so many different things.
People want the truth. In a world filled with disinformation and lies and distortions, they come to historic sites to learn something. I can say without any doubt that through the years, probably 90% of the criticism we get comes from one side of the spectrum. And that's a very pro-Confederate perspective. But the criticism we get from the other side is often searingly different and far more judgmental, not about us, but simply about the past. They look at, frankly, many white people from the Civil War, antebellum era as being vile, disgusting racists who have no redeeming value whatsoever. And I think that is unbelievably dangerous. But I think that's, again, why what we are doing is so vitally important, because we offer people some perspective. Carter House, Rippavilla, Carnton, any of these pre-Civil War sites where slavery existed, where the war had a great impact or touched the people who lived there. Here, there can be some dialogue. And I think that's hugely important.
Some of the tours that we offer here at our 3 different historic sites are specialty tours, like the extended tours. These are typically smaller groups, and they give folks a chance to ask some questions that they might not ask on a house tour. We have a little more flexibility to dive deeper into something that matters to someone who comes here. And a lot of the questions we've had in the last couple of years are coming out of what we're experiencing right now as a country. People want to know, how did we get here? We can stand with them in that space and help them examine that, to tell the fullness of story, to tell the stories of people who were white and people who were black, for people who fought in the war and people who didn't. To tell all of those stories doesn't mean we've done away with a whole section of history. We're now just telling everybody's story.
The American Civil War was the redefinition of the country. It put the country back almost to the founding. Wiped slavery off the board, stood on the moral bedrock of equality. It's the most important, tragic, horrific 4 years we've ever gone through. In 2022, we hear all the time about, we've never been more divided. Congress has never been this dysfunctional. This president's the worst, whatever. We've been more divided. Congress has always been dysfunctional in some shape, form, or fashion, and whoever's in the executive office is usually hugely unpopular with about 40 or 50% of the electorate, so much that several of them have actually been shot and killed, including Abraham Lincoln. We still have a lot of work to do. We're all shaped by good things and bad. Historic sites have to do both. They can talk to you about the decency of people married with kids, bravery in battle, wanting to be free, standing up for something that you believe in, but also the horrors of war, the horrors of slavery. The truth matters. The facts matter. They'll stand long after all of us are gone. The facts will win out in the end. The truth matters.